I think one of the reasons why Mark asked me to speak today is that besides being a professor of management, I'm also my own entrepreneur. And I've been at this for, let's just say a long time. Let's just say a long time. And one of the things that I've kind of noticed about entrepreneurs is that there seems to be one of three ways that we kind of come into this business. The first way seems to be we ascend into it. So it's like at some point in time we decide that we want to do something different. So we just kind of automatically try to figure out what that passion is. And so we work our way from whatever it is we're currently doing into this thing that we want to do. The other way seems to be by accident. And that we would, we're just kind of walking along, minding your own business. All of a sudden a rock kind of hits you on the head, you look up and the sky turns orange, and this thing kind of drops from the sky and says, this is what you should be doing. And so you alter your path that way. Most of the time, it seems to happen by way of adversity. And that there's some abrupt change that happens in your life. And then, so in the process of trying to work with that abrupt change, you decide that, okay, well, maybe I'll just do this instead of doing this. And for me, that's pretty much how it happened. Mine came by way of adversity. I had a nice career at General Motors through the 80s, and I was enjoying that career. But I wasn't paying attention to the tea leaves. And the tea leaves were saying that at some point in time, General Motors is going to be doing some downsizing. And guess what, corporate education and training staff? Guess who's going to go first? Yes, corporate education and training went first. So when I was downsized, I kind of thought through that adversity, said, well, what would I like to do now that I'm just kind of out here on my own? I said, well, I did a lot of that supervisory training for General Motors. We did a lot of corporate training for General Motors. I got a chance to travel to all these wonderful, beautiful, romantic sites, Indiana, Ohio. You haven't lived till you spent a 4-week training session in Marion, Indiana. In a Holiday Inn that's got nothing but artificial trees that at a certain point in time, all the artificial trees start to look the same. In fact, you get to traveling so much that you wake up in the Holiday Inn and you have to call the front desk and say, where the hell am I? You're in Buffalo, New York. So, after being downsized, I said, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up my own training and development and leadership practice. That's what I'm going to do. And so I did. What I did, so I hired an answering service. Some of you are too young to even know that was a concept. But we actually paid money for people to answer the phone for us, because that was our way of, kind of make us, look good, like we're important. So if you call my number, my answering service, hello, Meadows and Associates, may I help you? Well, where is he? Well, we don't know. So I hired that, got my own printer, got my own fax, got my own computer. It was a Mac. And so I did all that stuff, set up my own office in the house, and I had it all set up, and I was ready. Meadows Consulting, we do leadership development and training. I'm going to go out so these customers is going to come running to me. And so I hung out the shingle. Priscilla's smiling because she knows what happened. I hung out the shingle and said, it's Monday. Where are the customers? I am here. I am here. Come and embrace the fact that Lee Meadows is here ready to provide leadership training and development services for you. And then Tuesday rolled around. I'm here. Come on, customers. I'm waiting for you. Wednesday, where are the customers? I'm right here. But Thursday said, are there customers out here? And what ended up happening, I ended up paying for an answering service to leave a message on my telephone voicemail that there were no messages. It became clear to me that maybe my approach to this had to be a little bit different. Maybe I hadn't really thought through who's my customer and what it is that I'm supposed to be marketing, and what's the market even like, and how do I begin to even do something like that? Well, for a while there, I wasn't even sure if I had customers and what those customers would be and how it even profile them. So before you go down that dark path, let me give you 3 images to think about as you move toward this notion of trying to attract and retain customers. Let me give you 3 images. All right, I'm going to put them in your head. Image number 1, worldwide wrestling. Image number 2, comic book websites. And image number 3, chia pets. You got them? You got them? You see the images in your head? Now you know that all three of those images, they have customers. They all have customers. Right? Has anybody's ever gone to a WrestleMania event? We got witnesses in the room. They have customers. If anybody's ever logged onto a comic book website, and this is how comic book websites work. This is the profession I should have had as a kid growing up in the 60s reading comic books. Where at some point in time, your mom always burns them. All right? But here's what happens on a comic book website. Somebody stands in front of a camera. They've got all these comic books in the background of images and all that. And what they do is they talk and speculate about what the next Marvel or DC movie is going to be about. And it's just pure speculation based on their ability to know comic books. 635,000 hits, 1.2 million hits, 450,000 hits. You think they don't know who their customer is? You think they're not servicing their customer? They most certainly are. Chia Pets. Chia Pets. I have advised young men who are dating that if you really want to break up with someone around Valentine, give them a Chia Pet. Not only will they break up with you, they will make sure that everybody in their social network knows not to date you. I don't know why the Chia Pet continues to be something that people do. I thought the gift card was going to wipe it off the map. And yet every Black Friday at Walgreens, when you walk into the store, there are Chia Pets. And I've talked with the folks. And I've said, do these things sell? They say, yeah, we can keep them on the shelves. Well, who's buying them? Right? It's like, who buys those magazines at the checkout? I mean, it's just one of those mysteries, but somebody is buying them. So somebody has figured out that there is this customer base for Chia Pets. For Chia Pets. So, as someone who begins to think about, well, what constitutes attracting and retaining customers? What is the market like? Over the years, I think I have found that there are 4 underlying principles that have pretty much guided this process for me. And when I talk about these principles, I want you to apply them, see if they have direct application to worldwide wrestling, to comic book websites, and to Chia Pets. All right? First principle that I've come to understand, customers have a choice. Customers have a choice. You know, whether you're driving down Telegraph Avenue or Gratiot or Michigan and you've got to pull into some kind of gas station, you know that there are 4 gas stations on opposing corners, customers have a choice. They don't have to go to that station. Sometimes they go, it's just because it's the flow of traffic. But what separates that one gas station on corner north from that one gas station on corner south? And I would make the argument that they recognize that customers have a choice and that they don't have to be there. So because customers have a choice, what that means is that from a customer point of view, I have to begin to think about how do I ensure that that person who's making me their choice thinks of me as their only choice. Because thinking about me as their only choice means that given the range of choices out there, they decide to go with you every time. This gets reinforced because there are 4 or 5 things that are milestones for me doing every year. 4 or 5 things that are milestones. One is the ability to appear at the Human Resources Summit. There's another client who every year puts on an ethical leadership workshop. I get the call to be there. There's a Summer Business Institute that every year calls and says, are you going to come and do work with our students? And there's a conference on education that occurs every November where I get the call, of course you're going to be here. Now, why do I get the call? Not just because I do good work, and that's not bragging. It's because what I've decided to do is that whenever I'm working with them, I want them to know that given the range of choices, right? And I've got competitive choices right here in the room. Given the range of choices, I want them to think of me as their only choice. So I know you can choose, but I want you choosing me. Now, what allows me to be chosen every year? The fact that I know that I don't take them for granted, and I'm always thinking of some way to improve upon what they already know about me. So that every year, when it's time to make the call is automatic. Even if they got new staff who are saying to someone, maybe we should consider someone, no, we don't want, I didn't ask you to think. I asked you to make a phone call. Make sure Lee Meadows is here for the conference. Well, why is that? Well, that's a long-term established consistency with that particular client, which then allows me to use that consistency when I'm working with other clients, to begin to build on that, and to know that every year those are milestones for me. When that call comes in March, saying the summit is about to start, are you going to speak? That's my milestone that the path is still clear. So customers do have a choice, but I think one of the other principles that allows folks to manage that choice is that we tend to, the recognition that you don't have to play in a big market, right? You don't have to play in a big market. You just have to build yourself what's known as a dependent market. You want your clients, you want your customers dependent on you, relying on you to provide that particular service at that time when they need that. And how do you build a dependent relationship? You build a dependent relationship by making absolutely certain that you are in touch and in constant touch with the clients even when you're not talking with them. Even when they're not on your radar, you are somehow thinking about who they are and what they need. So that what you're doing is developing your own unique place in the market. And that there is a dependent relationship. Sometimes it's frightening to think that there are people who are dependent on chia pets. That's one of the most frightening thoughts I can ever think of. Because I know somewhere when my wife and I first got married, right, one of our aunts for our first Christmas present gave us a chia pet. And we looked at it and said, well, did you piss her off? Did you make her mad about something? We don't know. No, we know we gave it, and we know that the first couple times that she showed up to visit at the house, the chia pet was sitting out in full bloom, and we haven't bought one since. But guess what? Somehow they figured out that there's a market of folks who are dependent upon that particular unique gift. All right, mock it though I might, because I have a lot of fun with it, but every year, their sales continue on. Somehow new customers show up. Someone's saying to someone, well, listen, if you can't think of anything, right? If it's getting tight, just go to Walgreens and get a chia pet. Say, well, won't that ruin the relationship? Apparently not. Because they've been going at this since the 1980s, and every year we look around, it's still going on. It's still going on. Well, what would possess an individual to create a website which all they do is talk about fictional characters that don't exist in the known universe and build an audience of individuals who actually tune in and listen to someone say, you know, I think what's going to happen in the next Black Panther movie is that he's going to meet the crawling eye and somehow, what are you talking about? They don't exist. They do in the minds of those 1.2 million folks who have those hits. So rather than market, folks have figured out, well, this is something we probably need to do. And so they do. And so they do. So customers do have choices. You don't have to have a big market, just a dependent market. But I think one of the other principles that you have to recognize is that what they tend to do is provide exceptional service. Exceptional service. And so it goes above and beyond just the very delivery of something. For example, in East Point, where my mother-in-law resides, one of the things that my wife and I always do every other Sunday, we go out and visit, we spend time with her, and like any mother who's had a large family of kids, whenever we get there, she always gives us too much food to eat. We ask her, don't cook anything. We want to sit, we want to converse, I don't want to cook anything. You go in there, you got this small kitchen, 8 pots just sitting there with greens and ribs, and it's like, we didn't want to eat this kind of meal, so we eat. Because it's in front of you now, what are you going to do about it? So we eat. So here we are, it's 3 hours later with stuff, we've gone in and out of comas, we've done all the stuff that's absolutely necessary to reflect the fact that it was a good meal. So as we leave on the knocking mile, there is this particular shop on the corner that specializes in nothing but candy, ice cream, and pop. If you go into this particular store, there are barrels of candy. There are barrels of licorice. There's all these flavors of ice cream And it's just this one small shop, and that's the only thing that's specialized in. So whenever we go in there, of course, we always order ice cream. Now, my wife is always the first one to protest. So, honey, want to stop and get some ice cream? No, I don't want to stop and get some ice cream, but I pull in anyway. So we go into the store, we start to look around, and Mia, who's one of the folks who works there, recognizes who we are and always says hi. How are you doing? She sees me walking over toward the butter pecan, all ready to kind of suit myself up. But she always makes sure she says, and Mrs. Meadows, what flavor are you going to have today? And like any wife, there's the immediate protest. I don't want anything. And we say it's a large meal and all that. She said, would you like vanilla bean on the single scoop? Well, maybe vanilla, but just one scoop. Would you like that on a wafer cone or a regular cone? Well, what did I have last time? And she'll say, last time you had it on the regular cone. I'll put it on the wafer cone this time. So, despite the fact that she says she doesn't want any ice cream, guess what Mia has figured out? Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I'm going to provide the service that reinforces the fact that you want this ice cream. And she always asks about her mother. While she's scooping ice cream, how's your mom doing? Well, it's this. And that she strikes up a conversation, and I'm watching this whole interplay of things go on. So I recognize what's going on. Because I'm happy. I'm getting my 2 scoops of butter pecan. So I'm all set. The issue, of course, is, can you make Mrs. Meadows happy? She does every time.